Hi, and welcome back to another episode of
Not Life as We Know It.
today's episode. I'm going to get into an interview that I did with my friend Richard. Now, again, we've already done some interviews on the anime side of the channel. And so before we begin, I want to remind everyone to go down below, click like, and click subscribe. Definitely every single time you put a like, it helps the YouTube algorithm figure out and recommend my videos and that kind of stuff. So definitely anything that you do like that would definitely help. If you have a comment or a story that you'd like to tell and add, maybe some questions and that kind of stuff, because I'm also always constantly collecting up responses for the questions and answers and that kind of stuff. Feel free to go down below and make a comment and that kind of stuff. That always, again, really does help. For those people who would like to support me financially, I also have the Super Thanks button, as well as the links to PayPal and Patreon down below. I do have a variety of different episodes available to the subscribers, as well as content that's not allowed to be on YouTube here, due to the terms of service, of course. So then I will make that available to all the various Patreon members. I have compiled all the episodes of the History of Fan Anime, as well as the special subscriber episodes, all together into a big long spreadsheet, and it's basically sorted in a book style format, so that if you want to look at a particular topic specifically, all the episodes are grouped together with the links and everything. You'll find it much more useful to use that database resource, as opposed to trying to use a search engine on YouTube, because it's just, YouTube search engine is just not as effective as getting right to the information that you're looking for. Okay, so again, I invite you to do that. And again, I'd like to thank all the subscribers for your support. It really does help. And I'm going to get Richard to go through a bunch of various different topics and things that he is familiar with from his point of view. And without further delay, let's begin.
I can give two examples that maybe people can relate to.
Sure.
One is, it's an amusement park of make-believe, but it's not your amusement park.
Yeah.
You're just a person that's allowed to play in it, but what you're allowed to play and do has certain rules, etiquette, certain things you are allowed to do and not allowed to do, and they'll even give you a costume, right? It's basically like being in a theme amusement park that's not under your control, but somebody else's. I read this somewhere about directing, and that's what it basically is. There's a director, a ringleader, and he tells his underlings, hey, these people that we have in charge of different rides and things in the amusement park, whether you're going to be throwing baseballs at, things on the wall or whatever it is you do in the amusement park, they have to do it a certain way, and they're only allowed here at these times, or allowed to do things at these times, or allowed to be this way at these times. Essentially, that's what it is. It's somebody else's amusement park that you're allowed to play in, but your role is very, very limited, and you have to follow rules and etiquette. Another way you want to do it, if you're a gamer or a person into cosplay or LARPing or any of these things that are out there, is you're basically an NPC. You're a non-playable character, right? That has independence to do certain things, but that non-player character is even limited to what they can do. Like, if you're that person playing the game, you're allowed to fly and leap over buildings and run through walls and punch at cars and stop them, but not the NPC, unless they decide that the NPC has those powers. The NPC is like, oh no, you're just supposed to cross the street here back and forth. What else do I do? Don't smile. What else can I do? Well, you're gonna wear this clothing for the whole thing, for the whole day? Yep. Oh no. And sometimes once you cross that place, you have to sit down at some other times too. Oh, okay. Not at these times you don't cross here, but at these times you cross here. And we tell you when you can eat, when you can sit down, when you can stand up, where you can walk, all that stuff. It's quite simply set, right? And depending on how you are designated on the hierarchy of the job you have on the set, you may or may not be allowed to do certain things, see certain things, and be around certain things. In fact, the best way to describe it, I learned it better than anything, was when I worked at the airport. It is exactly like working at the airport. Your access, what you can see, what you can't, where you can go, what you can do, what you wear, where you are, at any given time, what you have access to, where you aren't even allowed to go or what you're not allowed to see. It's the same thing. If you worked at an airport and you know what rules you have to follow, it's almost in the same way as if you're working on set. Except you're not, well, you may be working around jets, I don't know, or airplanes or whatever, maybe not. But you may be working around a set where, oh, it's in the future and there's a gang war with space guns and laser swords and whatever. Different rules, right? But still, oh, those laser guns actually fire blanks. Don't go there unless you know how to use those guns. Or those laser swords, yeah, they're kind of pokey. Don't go near them unless we tell you to and how to handle them. So yeah, I mean, a really good analogy for people to sort of deal with the experiences. What's it like to be an NPC in a game? Or what's it like to be at an amusement park where you really can't go everywhere or do everything you want to do, right? Oh yeah, if you go on this ride, you can't eat candy floss. What? Nope, you're not allowed. But if you go on this ride, you're allowed to have a lollipop, right? Why? Well, that's the way it is in this amusement park, because we have to show a certain theme or whatever. Like the airport, right? If the jet's taxiing from the runway onto the dock area, right? Don't go near that freaking jet, unless you know exactly what you're doing. Don't go near it, right? Why not? Well, because it'll suck you into the engine. You'll be raspberry jam, right? Again, rules, protocols, regulation, etiquette. A lot of it is centered around actually safety. That's a big one. Safety, and don't piss off the producer or the director or whoever's funding the thing. Because if you do, well, they're going to kill off your character one way or another, whatever you do on set, right? Doesn't matter if you're setting up the lights or the plants for the background, or if you're a background actor, or even if you're a main actor. There's a good possibility even the main actors being women and men, could piss off the director or the producer. Yep, you're gone, you're done, you're an idiot, right? Everybody has to follow those rules. But if people want to experience that in a vicarious way, just see what it's like for you to be in this MMORPG world and what you can and can't do based on your status. And that's like the real world on set.
Or anything that funny that came up, or
Well, I think the most interesting stories are the ones where you're doing something unusual on set.
Yeah.
Which most people don't think about in real life, right? And you have to, so a lot of what you have to do, and I'm maybe oversimplifying it, is when you're working in any movie, TV production, and recently I was in a commercial, you have to have a very good imagination about what they're trying to accomplish as their vision. So a good example was when I was playing a protester on set, and I was supposed to be rushing this police line and these people that were government officials, and I'm a protester. Well, what does a protester do? Use your imagination, right? You see news footage, you hear about these people. What does a protester do? Well, they're holding their signs up and they're yelling, they're swearing, and they're calling the people that they're protesting against names, maybe even a bit rambunctious. They're going to cause, they're going to vandalize stuff, or whatever protesters do. Use your imagination. But in this case, we were being tear gassed, right? And they said, pretend you guys are being tear gassed. You guys are tear gassed, right? There's smoke and tear gas and all this stuff. So act like you're being tear gassed. So people's like, yeah, yelling, yeah, you pieces of crap, blah, 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 and all this stuff. And it was really, these people they weren't into it, right? And the guy was like, okay, cut. And we had to keep doing it, but these people are just not into it as protesters. They said, you're being tear gassed. There's smoke everywhere. There's all kinds of chaos, and everybody's confused, and it's irritating you and making. So they couldn't get the take done. It was, I don't know, we went through like half a dozen takes, and they just weren't getting it. So they said, we want you to, if you have to, exaggerate it. So when I heard that, I was like, okay, so this isn't working. So eventually I went out there and I was pretending I was being tear gassed, right? So when you get tear gassed, your throat's gonna tighten up, you're gonna get watery eyes, you're gonna start coughing and wheezing and, you know, loogies and snot coming out your nose. So I pretended I was doing that. So when I went out there, the first thing I did was like, just making this horrible coughing noise, right? But I overdid it because it was tear gas, right? So I'm a protester. It's like, yeah, you pieces of shit, and down with the government, right? The problem was I overdid it so much that everybody started laughing.
Okay, yeah.
And it's just like, hey, who's doing that? The director's like, hey, you know, chill out, calm down, right? But it was already done. So we had to reset. He said, yeah, whoever's doing it, you know, great job, but you're overdoing it, right? Well, I wasn't overdoing it. It's because everybody was laughing, right? Because that's what you're supposed to have happen in a real protest. People are like, they're not going to be mumbling, and they're suffering, right? They're going to be having, you know, things happen to them from the tear gas and the smoke, so they're going to be pretty pissed and acting that way. But I had the opposite effect. I made everybody start, you know, they were cracking up, right? So a little bit, but he said, the director even said, I want you to be over the top. That's what his exact words were. I want this to be over the top. So I was in there and I was like roughing up people. I even roughed up a stunt woman and she's like, stop pushing me. Stop pushing. I'm like, I got to make this look realistic. Nobody's just going to stand here and let you guys do whatever you want, right? Because she was playing a security guard. So I was roughing her up, right? She's like, stop pushing me, right? What are you doing? I'm like, I'm a protester. What are you doing, right? So that's a good example where I took it seriously. I listened to commands and everything, but there was no way to modulate it, right? There was no way, because you have to remember when you're shooting these things, almost 99% of the stuff in the background is going to be missed. It's just movement. So if you're not exaggerating or not over the top in your actions, it doesn't look authentic, right? And because in the foreground, like even in Shogun recently, I saw myself, I mean, I didn't even know for the one shot that they had the camera on my face. So when I was asked to make this stupid face and be in contempt of the character Blackthorn, oh, he's a Protestant coming into our Japanese village and we're Catholics. Make sure you look like you hate him. You have contempt and disdain and sneering at him, you know, scowling at him and everything. I'm like, okay, is that what you want? Yeah, make a face at Blackthorn, right? So I did. I made this really goofy face where I was like, looked like I was like eating something really terrible in my mouth, just scowling and sneering. And they got me right on the camera. I was like, what the? But I guess it looked good enough that the director is like, that guy, perfect. I want him on film. I want him to be in there. Even if he's in there for 3 seconds, which I was. I looked at him, I'm like, really? Is that what you wanted? But here I was standing there, drenched in rain, muddy, with the costume on, making this stupid face. But I guess I looked sincere and authentic enough in my contempt for this Blackthorn guy that they used me. So my friend was watching a show with me. He's like, oh yeah, there you are. Wow, you're kind of fat. I was like, well, no exercise and ate the good food and didn't do anything for a year and a half. Of course I'm fat, right? But I was in there because somebody like, oh yeah, he looks kind of scary. Let's put him in there and have him in the show for 3 seconds, right? That was a whole day shoot we did that. Just to get that one shot, right? It was like half the day. So there's things like that. When I first started, I used to hide a lot. Because like, I don't mind if I'm way back there and I'm fuzzy, right? Fuzzy looking. But often in the beginning, I used to have the director like snap his fingers like, I want you in the front. I want you here. I want you in front of the camera. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to be back there where you can't see me, right? But they always were like, come here, point their finger at me, wag their finger. And that's
evil, I guess?
No, it was just because it's like anything, right? I mean, it's like the people that really want it don't necessarily get it, and the people that are reluctant are the ones that are like, hey, you, right? So in this case, there was a lot of people in the beginning when I was doing this stuff, they jockeyed for position. They want to be in front of the camera.
Right, yeah.
They want to jockey for position. I want to be a star, whatever it is that they thought. Me, I'm like, nah, I want to just get your shot. I want to go back and have my muffin or my drink or whatever and sit down and relax. But often they would be like, you. I'm like, and then the people that were there in the background would part like the Red Sea, and I would have to come to the front of the crowd or in front of the camera and everything. And of course they're pissed off because they're like, well, why does he get to go there? Why don't I get to go there? Well, because we want him, we don't want you. You're jockeying for the camera. So I often got put into scenes only because I was reluctant to be in front of the camera. I was like hiding, right? They'll just see a little, fuzzy head moving around or fuzzy body moving around or something, right? So.
Although you're kind of tall too, so.
Well, that's interesting you say that because someone told me a lot of times they just want to cover space. So they'll get somebody that looks like they'll fill in the gap or the space for a shot, right? And because I'm 6 foot tall and I'm not your standard looking person, I'm Asian, right? And kind of Shirley looking, right? They'll put me in there. So there was one where we had to do iZombie, and I was waiting in line to get my vaccine shot because we're all turning into zombies now, so we better line up for the vaccine. So it was outside, and we did this shot in November, and it was already borderline winter. And we were supposed to be outside pretending we're waiting in line for a zombie shot, anti-zombie shot, and we were cold. So he said, hey, the crowd, act like you're impatient, freezing, you're cold. What does the crowd do? All the people in the lineup were just standing there. Didn't do anything, just stood there. Right? He goes, no, you guys are supposed to be impatient. You're impatient and you're cold. You're waiting to get your zombie shot. Act like you guys are. So you see a little bit of movement and stuff like that, but no. He goes, come on, you guys are. But of course, people are getting like barely above $20 an hour in the cold and everything. And so they're like, good enough. So what did I do? I'm like, all right, he wants to see. So here I am rubbing my arms, stomping on the ground to pretend I was trying to keep warm, sticking my head up and looking, seeing how far the line is, looking at everybody else, right? And it was okay, but then it was takeout, and I was like, okay, that's it, I'm sick of this. So I ended up exaggerating everything, making stupid faces, going, what's going on, poking my head way above the line, stomping on the ground, rubbing my arms, flapping my arms, making weird gestures and everything. And eventually the director notices, like, snaps his fingers like, you, go to the back. Because I was the only one making enough movements to make everybody look like they weren't doing anything, right? Thank you.
Have finished?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
So he ended up saying, you, go further in the back of the line. So I was allowed to do what I was allowed to do, but I was too obvious. So further back, my movements would have been more minimized, but he didn't say, you're wrong. He just like, no, this guy's he's a little bit over the top here. Let's send him in the back so he's going to be in the background more and we won't see him as much. But was it a better shot? I don't know. Because everybody wasn't doing anything. They were just standing there. And it's like, no, you're supposed to make it look like it's authentic. So you got to do something, right? Maybe talk to each other, whisper, look behind you. Hey, what's going on? Put your hands up and gesture. How come this is taking so long? Or doing whatever. But no. And so from those experiences, I just thought, okay, this isn't hard. So just go into every job and listen to what the guy tells you to do and just make it over the top. And there you go. And then you'll end up being in the middle of the camera for many shots. So, I was picked on this show called Haters Back Off. And they made me Asian Jesus. Did I tell you about that one?
No.
So I was in a Last Supper scene, and there was a bunch of us, all Asian. We're supposed to be a family visiting this evangelical, Noah's Ark exhibit. And one of the main characters was the mother of the daughter who had cancer, so she was going there to get solitude. And she interrupted our photo session. And we were all dressed up as the 12 apostles. And they picked me to be Jesus. So they put a fake beard on me, made me wear the robes of Jesus, and I was Asian Jesus in the scene, in the Last Supper, right? And it was funny because the people I was working with, they were pretty good, they were pretty professional, but it was a comedy, right? So it was, again, you have to be in the mood to be over the top. And at one point I forgot, I had my digital watch on, I had a Casio on my arm, and it's like, hey, he's wearing a watch, right? And it's like, and everybody was telling me, hey, why didn't you, you're not supposed to wear jewelry on a shoot. I'm like, oh, I have to tell time, I wore my watch. But the director's like, no, that's perfect. That's perfect, leave the watch on. So here I am doing the Asian Jesus scene, and right in the middle of the scene, you could see me with the digital watch on, right? It's Jesus with his digital watch on his wrist, right? It's like, that's perfect. That's perfect. That's perfect for the scene. So sometimes you can do something accidental, but if you embellish it, it may be helping the director or the producer. Like I've done things where I'm like, oh, sorry, I didn't, no, that's perfect. Keep doing that. We want you to do that. And they're like, really? Like, yeah. Or sometimes they don't even tell you at all. You're supposed to have a wrangler or some production assistant say, okay, we want you to do this, go here, stand here, look this way, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes they're like, well, what do you want me to do? Just do whatever. I got to deal with this thing. Okay. So you'll be looking at other people and like, well, what are you supposed to do? I don't know. I'm here. Where are you? Oh, I'm standing here. Well, why don't you cross over there and I'll cross over here? And it's like, okay. Sometimes you have to direct yourself.
Yeah.
You have to sort of imagine, what does the producer or director want? With the movement, with the authenticity of the scene, whatever. So sometimes you have to make shit up as you go along. And it's like, and then they'll either say, no, cut, that sucks. No, I want you here, I want you to move here, I want you to do this. Or if they don't tell you anything, it must be okay, right? So a lot of times, I'm like, I'll say to the guy, I was like, well, I'm gonna go over here and run up the stairs. Oh, okay, fine, do that. Because you're trying to figure out what they want, right? Because remember, you're not the center of the attention. You're making it look authentic. You're making it look like it's real. So you have to sort of, thank you. So you have to make it look like, well, what is it that I wanted? How do I sell the scene? Because when you're on set also, a lot of the times is, oh, I don't need it, I'll be cash, thank you. So a lot of the things that you'll do, you don't want to do take after take after take.
Right, because you have to repeat the same thing.
Because you're trying to figure out, what does this guy want? What does he want it to look like? So if you're really good at what you're doing, you should be able to sort of figure it out. A lot of the times I used to be like, okay, this is dumb, we're not getting anywhere. So I'll do something slightly different to just say, maybe he wants it to look this way or this way. I'll tell people, hey, why don't you do this and I'll do this and see if that might sell the scene a bit. And usually whenever I do something like that, 9 times out of 10, the director's cut, okay, that's a wrap, you're done, right? But a lot of times when I was out there, I was like, what does this guy want? What is he looking for? Is there something we're doing wrong? And sometimes it could be the actor. The actor's just, the gravitas isn't there, their gestures, their whatever they're saying in the line. Maybe they're not even into it. Maybe they're holding it and they have to do number 1 or 2. I don't know. But we've been on shoots where it's just over and over and over again. What are you looking for? Right? And so I'll be like, look, I don't want to be here anymore on set. I want to go back to have my muffin. So I'll think of something crazy like, I'll make a face a different way, or I'll act a different way for, oh, you're a fisherman. Oh, how about instead of hanging these nets, I go and clean fish or something. Or maybe I'll walk over here and pretend I'm warming my hands at the fire. Oh, that's good, sure, you do that, right? Because sometimes the director and the producer doesn't even know what they want. So you gotta help them. And that's what makes it more funny to do the job, because you could do some of the craziest stuff and you're like, really, that's what you wanted? Yeah, that's what we wanted. Perfect, cut, wrap, right? So like the thing, like when I was on Shogun, I was like, oh really, you wanted this stupid face? That's what you wanted? Okay. 3 seconds on screen, stupid face, right? Do you know the camera was looking at me? Okay. So what's funny for you being on set and doing the job is usually having to use your imagination to be even better than the people that funded this or directed or produced this production, is for you to put your little bit of your creative embellishment into it, to sort of like, oh, you think you guys are good? I'm going to make it better and do something even crazier. So that's what I used to do for fun, right? Because they're paying me to do a job. So why just do a half-assed job or do the bare minimum? Why not just like, oh, okay, let's fuck with this and see what we're gonna get, right? And what's funny is 9 times out of 10, that's what they want. They want something where, oh yeah, looks good. Look at that crazy guy over there doing this thing, right? Or sometimes you can even say, hey, can we do it this way? Oh yeah, that's good, sure, do that, right? That's what makes it even not only funny, but fun, right?
Okay, so again, we'll have to continue this interview in the next episode. So again, we've got to hit like and subscribe so we will get the more of those episodes when they come out, right? So until next time, I will see you again.